Hello students, this video is on a chapter which is called The Helpful Young Man, written by Shaharyar. So let's start the chapter, and as it is clear from the title only that this chapter is about a young man who helps others. But before that you must also think about the pre-reading task, whether you are a helpful person or not. So let's start the story. Once upon a time, there lived a peasant who had 7 sons and plenty of land. One morning, when the peasant woke up, he found himself blind. A number of doctors were consulted, and much money was spent, but in vain. Peasant means farmer. So, once a farmer had 7 sons and plenty, that means much land. One morning, when the farmer woke up, he got blind and he consulted many doctors, but the only money was wasted and it all was in vain. In vain means it all was useless. One day, a strange fakir visited the blind peasant and said that he could see again if the ash of the eyes of a particular fish could be arranged and rubbed in his eyes. So it was decided that one of his sons would go to fetch the fish. 6 of his elder sons got scared. Therefore, they were reluctant to go for the purpose. They advised their father to send the youngest son for it. The old man sent for him and asked him to fetch the required fish. Students, fakir is Urdu word and it means sage, a person who wanders here and there. So this fakir told the peasant that he could see again if the ash of the eyes of a particular fish could be arranged for him and would be rubbed in his eyes. So now it was decided that one of his sons would go to bring that fish. Fetch means to go and then bring something. But the elder 6 sons, they got scared and they were reluctant. Reluctant means they didn't want to do that. They were unwilling to go for the purpose. Purpose means aim. So they advised the father that they must send the youngest son for the task. The youngest son set out for the remote ocean. On his way, he met with numerous calamities, but his determination and power bore fruit. He reached the destination. When the young man took the fish out of the water, it cried, "O wise man, please drop me back into the ocean. Tell me what you want. I promise you that I will be at your mercy if I do not fulfill my promise." The young man threw the fish back into the ocean and said, "I want your eyes." He narrated the whole story to the fish and the purpose for which he needed its eyes. "I am at your mercy, my lord. If you are determined to take my eyes, I am ready. But if I restore your father's eyesight without losing my eyes, will you spare my life?" It asked. So the young man went to the remote ocean. Remote means far ocean. Numerous means many in number. Calamities means natural disaster result. Determination means strong will. When someone decides to do something, that will is called determination. Destination means purpose or the place set for the end of a journey. So this young man, he went to the far ocean and he faced numerous problems on his way, but his determination was strong and finally he reached the destination. But when he reached there and got that fish out of the water, it cried and it said that please drop it back into the water because it was at the mercy of that young man. That means the young man must feel pity on it, and it would fulfill the young man's any wish. The young man threw the fish back into the ocean and told the whole story about his father's eyes. Then the fish told the young man that it could give the solution of the father's eyesight problem without losing its life. How is it possible? The young man asked. So then young man asked that how is it possible? So after that the fish would say, take some sand in your hand and touch my closed eyelids with it. Take the same sand with you and touch the closed eyelids of your father with it. He will get his eyesight back. I pray for your father's health. Remember me in your hard times. I may prove helpful to you, it said assuringly. Well, I will leave you, but in case my father does not get his eyesight back, your life will not be spared. It is not just an idle threat. I suggest that one must honor one's words. Saying so, he took the sand with him. As soon as the father's eyelids were touched as advised, his eyesight was restored. Other six brothers got the amazing news and rushed to their father. So now the fish gave solution. Fish told that take some sand in his hand and touch the eyelids of fish, and then same sand should be rubbed on the father's eyelids, and this way the father will get the eyesight back. And this is what happened. At the same time the fish promised the young man that it would help him in his hard times. So when the father was given the same therapy as the young man rubbed father's eyelids with that sand, the father could see. And the six brothers, they also got to know about the news, this amazing news, and they came to the father. They grew jealous of their youngest brother. They feared that he would be the heir to the father's property. The eldest brother came forward and said, thanks, O Lord, you have restored our father's sight. But, dear father, may I ask our youngest brother, where are the eyes of the fish you needed? He has touched your eyelid just with sand. It is a mere chance that your eyesight has been restored. It was possible that the touch of the sand would have caused you injury. Other brothers stood by him. They compelled their father that he should be asked to bring the eyes of the fish. Their plan went well. The good son was disgraced to leave the house for his dishonesty. He left the house and roamed aimlessly as he had nowhere to go. So now the other brothers, they got jealous of the youngest brother because they thought that father would make him his heir. Heir, heir means one who gets the property from their parents. So that's why the eldest son, he said that no father, he had done some dishonesty here because he was asked to bring the eyes of the fish, but he didn't bring the eyes of the fish, and he touched your eyes with sand, and that sand could have hurt your eyes more, and this was just a mere chance that you could see now. And this way they compelled the father as well, and the youngest son was disgraced. Disgraced meant that he was insulted and he had to leave the house. And the young man, he just roamed here and there without any aim because he didn't have any place to go. One day, as he was passing through a forest, he noticed that a black buck came running to him. The small animal stood by him and spoke in a trembling voice. Buck is a deer, a male deer. Trembling means to shake with fear. So one day when this young man was walking in the jungle, he saw a buck trembling with fear. And what did the buck say? Dear sir, the hunters are after me. Please save me. I will help you whenever you call me. The young man trusted the buck. Go into the ditch and I will cover you with grass and leaves. When they go away, I will call you back. The buck acted upon his advice. When the hunters came, they asked him, have you seen any buck this way? What is a buck? He said. This fool doesn't know what a buck is. Hurry up, lest we should miss the opportunity, they said. Come out now. They have gone away. The buck thanked him and promised to help him when he was in distress. The boy continued his journey. So, the young man helped the buck by saving him in a ditch and he was saved from the hunters. The buck promised the young man that he would help the young man in distress. Distress means in difficult situation. After some time, he heard a cry. He stopped and looked in the direction from where the cry had come. He discovered that a jackal was being chased by hunters. The jackal approached him for help. The young man helped it too. The jackal too promised to help him in his hour of need. So now the young man continued his journey, and this time he heard the cry of a jackal, which was which was followed by hunters. So the young man helped it too, and the jackal promised the young man to help him in his hour of need when he would be in problem. The young man kept on wandering for many days. He was tired and hungry and wanted to take some rest. He spotted a strange palace. He decided to go inside the palace and meet its owner. The palace belonged to a princess who was very beautiful. She was famous for a magic mirror. She could see everything in it. She had proclaimed that she would marry the man who could evade his reflection in the magic mirror, but he would be beheaded if traced in the mirror. So now, after walking a lot, the young man spotted a strange palace which was owned by a beautiful princess. This princess had a magic mirror and she had declared, proclaim means declared or announce. She had declared that she would marry a man who could evade means avoid or escape his reflection in her magic mirror, and if that person would be traced, would be seen on that mirror, then that person's head would be cut off. Beheaded means to cut one's head. The young men saw human skulls of many young men who had failed in this adventurous task. But he was not afraid. He went to the princess fearlessly and accepted the challenge. Now that you have come, the princess smiled. Do you know the conditions? Of course, was his reply. All right, hide yourself tonight. Her voice was as sharp as double-edged dagger. At night, the young man went to the seashore and called forth the fish for help. So the young man went to the princess and accepted the challenge. Though he saw many human skulls also there, these were all those men who failed in that adventurous task. So the princess asked him whether he knew about the condition, and he told that yes, he knew it. And now the princess told with a very rude voice that okay, go and hide yourself. So that night the young man went to the fish Sure, sure, said the fish. I will hide you in my stomach and go deep into the ocean. The princess took up the mirror. She rotated it in every direction. At last, she succeeded in tracing him. In the morning, when the young man came, she told him his hiding place. Should you be beheaded now? The princess paused for a moment and said, well, you appear to be an interesting man. I give you another chance. So the young man went to the fish, and fish hid the young man in its stomach and went into the deep ocean. But the princess found him in the mirror. And in the morning, when the young man went to the princess, she asked that should you be beheaded now? That means, should I order to cut your head now? But no, you seem to be a very interesting man, so I must give you another chance. So these were the dialogues of the princess. This time the young man went to the woods, would mean jungle, and called for the buck. Hello, master, what can I do for you? Asked the buck. On hearing the whole story, it said, master, sit on my horns, I will take you to the remote hills. Next morning, the princess told him that he was hiding in the hills. And after calling the buck took him to the remote hills. Remote means far hills. But next morning, the princess told the young man that he was hiding in the hills. One chance more, but it will be the last, she warned. But the princess gave that young man one more last chance. He returned to the forest and called for the jackal and narrated his sad story. Oh, master, don't worry, I will do my best, assured the jackal. The jackal called for his fellow jackals, and within no time, there were hundreds of jackals all around him. The jackals held a conference. They proposed that the young man should hide himself under the prince's bed. How could he reached there without the knowledge of the princess? It was planned that a tunnel should be dug. Its other end should be right under the bed of the princess. The plan was executed immediately, and the young man was right under the bed. So this time, the young man called the jackal, and jackal he called his fellow jackals, and after that they decided that that young man should hide under the princess bed, and for that they would dig a tunnel that would directly take the young man under the princess bed. The princess woke up, took the magic mirror in her hand, and rotated it. But to her astonishment, she could not trace the young man. She repeated the process a number of times, but in vain. At last, she got sick of this job. She smashed the mirror against the lamppost. Come out, young man. I have lost the game, she cried. And this time, when the princess woke up in the morning, she took the mirror in her hand and rotated, and she just tried to find out that where the young man was. She tried many times, but she could not trace. She could not find the young man. So she got now irritated, and she just threw that mirror against the lamppost, and just she said that come out, young man, I have lost the game. The next moment, the young man came out under the bed. The princess was surprised at his intelligence. She accepted her defeat and agreed to marry him. Thereafter, the young man lived with his wife happily. So, when the princess accepted her defeat, young man came out from his hiding place, and the princess, she was really surprised at his intelligence. She accepted her defeat before the young man and agreed to marry him. And after that, the young man lived with his wife happily. So, this was the story of the helpful young man. Thank you very much.